Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer, and we are going to talk about a few different topics today, so it's going to be a gaming vlog. We're going to talk a little bit about the 5th edition campaign that we just wrapped up back here, and the start of our new 1st edition campaign with a different Diem, and we're going to talk about my top 5 or so in that area games from E3, now that E3 is over. It finished this past weekend, and we're going to talk about that, what games I'm looking forward to. We're going to talk about what I'm playing now. So let's start off with the tabletop D&D stuff back here. So we were playing a 5th edition campaign, a homebrew campaign of our DM Jonathan's making, and I had just reached, my character had just reached level 5, and I think most everybody else was level 4. We had one player who had a character die, and so he was allowed to reroll as a 3rd level, and I think he was still 3rd level. And we got TPK'd. I don't recall in my gaming career, my tabletop gaming career, ever having a TPK before. Well, I take that back. Of course, in Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu, I've played one session of Call of Cthulhu, and it was a TPK. But I mean, in Dungeons and Dragons, if I've had one, it doesn't come to mind. I don't remember. It may have been so long ago that I don't recall it now. But in recent memory, this is the first one that we've had. And it was in a place called Castle Rend, and we were in there doing your standard clearing the dungeon type of a thing, and we had just finished a combat, and we actually backed out of a room because we feared that there was more mobs coming. So we backed out of the room, shut a door, and we weren't in a position to where we could really heal, do a long rest, or anything like that. So we decided to go a different direction. We go up these stairs and go in this other door, and our situation was immediately much worse. There was a lot of shit in there to fight, and we lost. We did everything we could, but in the end, it was a TPK. So that was the end of that campaign. Tram Gunderson, my character, he fell, and he actually made his death saves to not die, and was stable. He was unconscious but stable and so forth. But then when the last person fell, the boss in the room went around and coup de grace us all. So that was the end of that. So that was the end of the 5th edition campaign. So now one of our other DMs, Brad, who has DM'd us before in a 3.5 campaign, he has decided to take up his same game world, his homebrew game world, but this time he's going to DM in 1st edition. And it's kind of interesting because our 3.5 campaign, when it concluded, basically I think Brad is continuing the timeline, and these new characters in this 1st edition rendition of the game are going to be in the same game world, of course, and a certain amount of time is going to have passed. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any references to our heroes from the 3.5 game, because that all happened in his game world. So it would be interesting to see if there's going to be any Easter eggs of referencing our characters. In our 3.5 campaign, we actually had one of our characters played by Jonathan. He was a copious taker of a journal. His character was. and to the point where he was chronicling all of our adventures, and in the game, his character was selling them, publishing them through the local bookstore or library or whatever, and was actually selling them. So it'll be interesting now to see our characters now, if any of them are going to stumble upon a copy of that book. We'll see how it goes. But in this new first edition campaign, here's your old-fashioned first edition character sheet there. Get that where you guys can see it real good. Yeah, that is your old-fashioned goldenrod first edition character sheet. And I wonder why that might be better to do with that. There we go, that's better. There's a lot of glare and everything on it. But you can see my name there is Clevite Craster. And I am playing a cleric. And I have not played a cleric in a very, very long time. It has been, I can't remember the last time I played it. I usually play what you would call a DPS class. I usually play a rogue, thief, whatever you want to call it. Or like a ranger, or I played a monk. And I played in the 3.5 campaign, I played a barbarian. A dwarf barbarian known as Grunt Furbelly. And so we'll see if our current characters hear of Grunt Furbelly's exploits from earlier in history in my friend Brad's game world. So we had our first session in this first edition campaign when Jonathan had to skip a week. So Brad filled in, and we actually rolled up these characters and did our first session, which was just it was not a very long one because it took time to roll everything up, but we basically had gotten recruited to do a rescue attempt of what the person that was hiring us thought that his daughter had been either kidnapped or she decided to elope or something of that nature, but he knew that she had left with this guy on one of his carriages, which was a very expensive carriage. And so we go after and we do some investigation to try and find out where she might have gone. We follow the lead. We find the carriage next to a river, if I remember correctly. Her body is there. We do find her body, and we get attacked by some creatures as we're doing the investigation of the scene. We fight them off and everything, and we capture one of the creatures, because none of us had ever seen one of these things, and we thought, well, we'll capture one of these things. I can't remember if we captured it alive or if we killed it and just brought the body back. That I can't remember. But regardless, we bring the carriage back and everything. Now, remember, I'm playing a cleric, and I'm a local priest in the town, and I'm playing my character as he is always going to try and do the right thing. He's not lawful good. He is, I think he's lawful neutral, if I remember. Yes, he's lawful neutral. But I am playing him as he is going to always want to do the right thing. And in this instance, he feels that the right thing is to bring the carriage back and so forth. Some of the other party members were saying, well, now he told us to keep this quiet and so forth. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, but we're not telling anybody what happened or what we're doing or whatever. But their argument was, well, you're bringing this carriage back right through the main gate and everything, and people are going to ask questions and so forth. And I'm thinking, hey, the guy will be glad to get his carriage back. He said it was worth a lot of money, a lot of gold. It was very valuable. It was all trimmed in gold and all this stuff. This guy's a very well-to-do guy and everything. Well, they were right. The other characters in the party that were arguing against taking the carriage into town were absolutely right. And the guy that hired us, he was not the owner or the father of the girl or anything. One of his guys is the one who hired us. And of course he balls us out and says, get that thing out of here, and I want to be seeing it or whatever, So they were right that, but my character is going to always think he's doing the right thing, and he thought that was the right thing to do. So, if I remember, that's where we had to leave off, if I remember correctly. And then, of course, last week was the TPK of the other campaign. So now we will be back full-time on this campaign. So there will be many more stories to tell of the exploits. Now, this campaign, the last one was called, Jonathan's was The Tower and the Crown, he called that campaign. And Brad is calling this simply The Galley, is the name of this campaign. So, there we go. That gets you caught up on what's happening with the tabletop stuff back here. And by the way, I do try to send out pictures from the game table as things are going on. I posted them to Instagram. I might have even put them on Twitter last week. I can't remember. So if you're not following me on those on social media, Greyhawk 4x4 on everything, on all the social media stuff. Just Greyhawk 4x4, you'll find me. So, next I wanted to talk about the E3, the aftermath of E3, and what the games I'm looking most forward to as a result. I was actually pretty surprised that there were this many that I'm actually really looking forward to. Obviously, Baldur's Gate 3. That's a big one. That's at the very top. I'm playing through Baldur's Gate 1 again right now, Enhanced Edition. You guys saw some gameplay. I'm absolutely engrossed right back into it. I'm going to do Baldur's Gate 2 again. And I might even do Icewind Dale's if Baldur's Gate 3 is not out by then. Because I've taken a break from World of Warcraft. Because until Classic comes out, I'm not even touching it. But Cyberpunk 2077, huge, that one. So Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Jedi Fallen Order, looked really good. Borderlands 3, I am looking forward to it. And then Outer Worlds, which to me strikes me kind of almost like a Fallout type of a game. But it's by Obsidian. And my understanding is some of the guys that worked on the Fallout system, or the Fallout series, worked on the Outer Worlds as well. Masquerade Bloodlines, or Vampire, whatever the order those words go in, but it's like Vampire Bloodlines Masquerade 2, the Masquerade 2, or whatever it is. That looked really good, so I'm looking forward to that. And then there's two that are a little bit more obscure that I wanted to talk about real quick. One is the Elden Ring. It's an MMO that is being created by George R.R. Martin and the people that made the Dark Souls series. Holy crap, that could be, if it's done right, that could be amazing if they do it the right way. But it's way early, I guess, right now, so we won't know. We'll have to wait. There was a trailer, but, it was a cinematic and everything, so we'll have to wait and see. So I'm looking forward to that, but I want to see how they do it. And then finally, the most obscure of all of these, there's one called Telling Lies. And this is a full motion video game, and it's made by the same people that made one called Her Story. And if you have not played Her Story, it's on Steam. I don't know what it's going for right now. It was not an expensive title. It was, I don't know. I probably got it on sale for like $5 or $10 or something like that. Very good. Full motion video. There's an actress that plays, the main character in it. And this Telling Lies is by the same company that made that one. I don't know if it's a sequel. I didn't hear that it's a sequel or it's got any connection to the first one. But I'm actually, the video I saw, it looks like they've taken the idea of what they did with Her Story and made a much bigger game. So I'm really looking forward to that too. So those are, how do you guys feel? I mean, what are you guys looking forward to from E3? What kind of got you going there in anticipation? Hopefully not enough to pre-order games, because I'm not pre-ordering anything anymore. I will wait till I see it, see reviews, see some, in-game footage, some Twitch coverage, whatever, before I make up my mind. I'm not giving any of these game companies my money anymore. Ever since Fallout 76 was the last game I will probably ever pre-order. Unless Half-Life 3 comes out. Then I probably would pre-order Half-Life 3. Oh, that just was a coincidence that I just happened to be wearing my Half-Life 2 hat. I just noticed that. So, there we go, guys. I think that's about it. My next video, I think, one of my longest time subscribers asked a question of me. He wanted to know if I would do a video about how we reconcile when these companies are underhanded, they're deceitful, they lie to us, whatever the case may be, and they do these things, how one would reconcile the fact that we continue to give them our money, and whether do we continue to give them our money. And his particular example was Blizzard, with what they've done with World of Warcraft, and the fact they're coming out with Classic, and they're hoping to get a lot of people to resub because you have to be subscribed to the live version to play the Classic version. I don't see any problem with that. So with that business model, there's some issues on whether or not you can live with yourself giving them money regardless of what it is. I mean, we'll get into that in a future video. I'll try to expound upon that to make a full video out of it. So, anyway, guys, we will catch you on the flip side.